Welcome home, where we provide information, inspiration, and motivator after motivator after motivator here on America's Next. I have Felicia Hamilton here with us today. How you doing, Felicia?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing today, Cedric?
I'm doing quite well. Now, in pre-production, all of our kids were here and they were a part of the show. I want to let our viewers know right now that we could have some cameos from the children today. It's part of what will be a great interview. Now, Felicia, where are you located?
I am living right now in Queens, New York, in Laurel.
Okay. Wow, what's it like living in Queens, New York?
You can say it's sort of like the city away from the city.
Okay.
It's less so crowded, a little bit more residential. It's pretty quiet here in Queens, at least where I live right now. It's a beautiful neighborhood, very friendly, family-friendly neighborhood. I like living here. I've lived here for pretty much my entire adult life as living in America.
Okay. Now, where were you born and where were you born to start?
I was born in Jamaica. So
Okay.
I am Jamaican, naturally. I was raised in Jamaica until I was 15 years old, at which point I migrated to America.
Okay. I want you to turn into a painter, and I want you to paint a picture for us of Jamaica. What was it like growing up in Jamaica?
I mean, as a child, you're more innocent. So, being a child living in Jamaica, of course, you're not focusing on all the bigger issues at hand that could impact anyone. But as a child growing up in Jamaica, it was a beautiful time. There were, of course, many struggles because it's a third world country, and the same kind of things that are here in America are not the same kind of things that are accessible to us there in Jamaica. So growing up in Jamaica kind of looked like, no running water at times, having to walk miles to go get water sometimes. But at the same time, even though there were those struggles where I didn't have running water sometimes, or where I didn't have luxury of hot water, at the same time, it was still beautiful because as a child growing up, you were very disciplined. It's a very disciplined lifestyle. You're disciplined from the time you're born, basically, till basically forever. And school there was different. School there was, I would say, a little bit more aggressive.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? Aggressive?
In terms of aggressive, meaning they're a lot more strict. There are laws in America that don't really apply to people in Jamaica, where discipline looks like you were actually getting spanked. Okay, in school, you can't really get spanked in school here, but that was something that was a form of discipline for us. If for any reason we got an assignment and we didn't follow through on an assignment, we are getting whooped. Okay, we are we are getting whooped. And I can say that kind of attributed to me now as an adult. It kind of impacted my life in a more positive way instead of a negative way. Being able to know that I was being disciplined. If I for any reason misspelled a word or something, I was getting punished. Growing up in Jamaica, I liked it though. I liked the fact that it gave me some structure, a lot of structure, because structure is what children need. And so I was grateful for the fact that even though I necessarily didn't like being whooped a lot, and I definitely did get a lot of beatings, but at the same time, it definitely shaped me for the better of me. Jamaica was a beautiful time in my life.
How old were you when you were walking miles, you said, for water? What was that journey like?
We made everything fun. You know, when I was growing up, I had a lot of, friends my age. We would all just gather together and just walk down, or we ride our bicycles, or sometimes we'll even hop on trucks. I was a little bit of a tomboy.
Up in a truck, huh?
I was definitely a little bit of a tomboy growing up. So you'd find me on hopping on trucks and riding bicycles. I was like that girl that was amongst all the boys. Like, so we just make fun out of going to get water, because it wasn't always that we didn't have water, but there were times where we didn't have running water. So we just make some fun out of it, bring some buckets and go, right down to the stream, not a stream. I think it was a well rather. And go catch water and come back home and then go back. We'd have to make a couple trips because,
Right.
like for me, I had a few siblings, so I had to make sure all my siblings plus my mom had water and so on. But it was really fun. I would say the trip would be about a good 20 minutes walking, or about 10 minutes at times, depending on the speed we're riding bicycles. So it was definitely a journey, but a
Yeah.
work
Yeah.
journey.
So there's a such thing as doing things a shorthanded way or doing things the long way. And
Mhm.
it seems like for you growing up in Jamaica, you guys had to do a lot of things the long way. And the benefit of doing things the long way is that it enhances your character, it enhances your strength, and it teaches you the value of hard work. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. I can say that's probably one of the reasons why I'm as hardworking as I am right now. And my entire life, to be honest, I've always been that hardworking person. It definitely changed me. It definitely gave me an understanding of what hard work should look like and why I cannot settle for anything if I didn't work hard for it.
Right. Now, how many siblings did you have?
I have sisters. So I have had three sisters. Now I have two. One of my sisters did pass away several years ago, but I grew up with three sisters. Only two lived with me though, one of which passed away.
I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that. But you are carrying the torch of leadership in your family today, it sounds like.
Yes, I am.
Yeah,
I'm the only graduate in my family, college graduate in my immediate family. My mother, she was the oldest of all of her eight siblings. And so she had to, not be in school as much, but as much more, she was more home, helping her parents take care of those, her brothers and sisters. So I guess I got the good part of everything. My mother worked really hard to ensure that I was able to go to college and, get my degree and use my degree to better myself and to better my family.
absolutely. It comes a point in time where you have to get out there and you have to be a go-getter. And it sounds like you had that attitude at a very young age.
Yes.
Um, did your father play a role in your early childhood?
Not at all. I can probably say my entire childhood, I spent maybe about 8 years of my life, really about 6 years remembering my father with my father. I've had a bad experience, growing up and knowing that my father lives not far away, but never being able to see him, or he'd drive past me on the street and walk past me on the street and not even notice me. I've actually had I could never forget the encounter I had walking past my father on the street, and I looking right at him and he wouldn't even have recognized me, even though I look like him. So I didn't really have much of a father-daughter relationship like I would have wanted. But, I guess it also have made me a little bit hard, the kind of hard that I am now, and very stubborn, where when it comes to men in my life, I don't really let up because of the relationship I lacked with my father.
So due to the lack of a relationship that you have with your father, your standards for your potential partner, they increased.
Absolutely. Especially now, as I'm 26 years old, and I was actually married before. So, as a divorcee or on my way to divorce and being around men in my life, now where I am, where my mindset has shifted at this stage in my life, I have decided to raise my standards of men because obviously knowing how hardworking and dedicated I am to my craft, to ensuring that my child is set for his entire life, I have to also make sure that the person that comes around us has that same mindset and that same point of view in raising children and raising, in a relationship. So I've raised my standards. Some people might say I'm a little bit, I've raised them a little bit too high. I don't believe there's anything too high that can't be reached.
Right. You know, I think it's very commendable of you to decide to protect yourself and protect your family, at all costs, because you have to be protected, and that sets a positive example for other women in your family or in the community
Mhm.
of the extent that you have to go to make sure that you're protected. There is a narrative going around out there that says that young women, particularly black women, feel unprotected and that they are amongst the most unprotected in our society. Do you have anything to say about that?
I agree 100%. And I was having a conversation recently with one of my friends who felt that Black women are too privileged. When in fact of the matter is, we have so many things set against us. We
Like what?
have to fight for our children, our Black children, our boys, that are being, we are scared to put our little boys out there. It's part of the reason why we're so hard and harsh as Black women, because when we bring children into the world and then we have to bring our children, put our children out in the world, never knowing how they're going to turn out, what's going to be, what's going to happen to them when they go out there, it kind of gives us that harshness and makes us want to conceal them for the rest of our lives. We know we cannot, but it makes us want to seal them from the world. Being a Black woman, you have to think about the Black man who has the same struggle, has to go out there in the world. We have to be that shield for a Black man. We have to, provide that safety net for our Black men that we're not even getting for ourselves, but we have to provide that for other people. We always have to be so tough and strong, because if we don't do it, then who's going to do it for us? So we had to be that protector and be secure in ourselves and in our people, the people around us, because for the most part, we've been the bearer of our entire families. We've been the backbone of our entire families. And so, I feel that, particularly Black women have a very hard time, especially if you are a single mother and you are Black, you are a mother. That's one thing alone that's pushing, that's setting you back in many ways. You are a Black mother and then you're a single Black mother. It's just like it's so many layers to why we have to protect our energy, we have to protect our mindset, we have to protect our children, our families. And so it's caused us to be hard and not want to let up on a lot of things. A
You
lot
know,
of things.
you said some things that were very, very, very sturdy just now, and you said that we need to protect one another. You said that the woman needs to protect the man, but also that the woman needs to be protected. I want to ask you, what would be one of the things that you would like to see happen in this world to protect you and to protect the community? What's one thing that we can learn from you today that we need to do?
I personally believe that we need to start being more open minded towards each other, being more open to helping each other as a Black community, because there's so many other communities out there that stick together. But because we do not stick together, we cannot get far. But if we've decided to band together, like, certain circumstances recently have caused a Black Lives Matter movement. If we can keep that going beyond just a particular incident causing us to wake up and put ourselves out there into protecting each other, if we can do that every single day without a reward, without being told to do so, we can make our own community so much stronger. We just need to come together to be able to do that. And how we're going to be able to do that, we have to stop being so closed-minded towards each other. We have to support each other. The support in our own communities is lacking greatly. And if we don't stand up and we don't start protecting each other and supporting each other, we are not going to see the movement that we've started last a very long time. This should be a movement that should change Black communities across the world forever.
Right.
But if we're going to choose when we're going to move and when we don't, or when we support and when we don't, the consistency needs to be there. We need to be consistent in our own backyards. We need to be consistent when it comes to raising our children right, so that they can come together, support each other, come together, because they are our future. And if we don't come together and be that example for our children, so they can see a movement so strong, they get to see a movement so strong that they themselves realize that they have to be strong in that way and keep that movement going. We are the legacy of our legacies.
Wow. Do you think that the generations before us dropped the ball to an extent when it comes to having a movement that we could see and latch on to?
I don't think that I think they did what they could have done. I think that what they were given, they've made the best of it. Now, we are in a time where technology has advanced beyond anyone's, you know, thoughts. We're in a time where we can be a little bit more liberal and not get shoot down for it, or be criticized as harshly. I think back then there was a lot of pride and a lot of criticism, and they didn't have the resources that we do now. So they did what they could have done with what they had useful to them at that time. Now here we are, and this is we're living in a millennials world right now, where
Okay.
millennials are driving the future forward. And if and we have the resources at our fingertips to change the course of our own nature, the course of our own lives, that unfortunately the older generations didn't have.
Like what?
So
Like what?
well, they didn't have technology. They didn't have the advancement of technology like we do back in the 70s, back in the 80s. Yes, it was there. They had live broadcastings and so on. But now we have internet technology. We have so many different platforms that we can make our voices heard. And that was something that they didn't have back in the day.
So, when I look back on the history of people, I see that there have been elders in every community who have been providing knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and just plain old common sense to people. And it seems like, even though, how you doing, young man? It seems like even though they might not have had the same technologies that we have today, there was somebody in your community who was teaching you some things, and it seems like you didn't listen. At some point along the way, you didn't listen to them because, as I do my research and studies on what has happened historically, I come across people who are 80 years old and they're still teaching. I come across people who are 60, 70 years old who are still teaching. So, what was people doing 40 years ago that prevented them from listening to the teachers that were around at the time? So I hear what you're saying, that, that they didn't have Google per se and they didn't have the internet, but there was a teacher in your community, and were you listening to that teacher? And so then my question, fast forwarding it today, is where are the teachers that we should be listening to today? Do you know of any?
Personally, I know of, maybe I can count on one hand, how many I know. And I do think that is a part of the problem. Yes,
Mhm.
that there aren't enough. I don't know if it's because they're tired. I don't know if it's because they're tired of talking about the same things over and over and not seeing an impact or not seeing a change. But I do know that the few people that I know that wants to teach, that wants to spread the word, there are not enough people there to listen, because people are
Mhm.
not interested in listening, and they're not interested in sitting down for a couple minutes and hearing out point of views that could probably change the course of their life. Would
Right.
I do it? Absolutely.
Mhm.
But there's not enough people like me who would be willing to sit down and take advice from others. I think the world is moving so fast that we've forgotten about those who could who could provide value to our life.
Right. Absolutely. I see people who are more attracted to technology than you are the elder down the street. You know, there's always been somebody that you can call or get in touch with, somebody who has more knowledge than you. All you have to do is learn one thing from the person next to you. They don't have to give you a whole lecture and teach you a million and one things, but I think that there's at least one thing that you can learn from somebody else. And so to the extent that we decide to learn from one another, I think we could do a better job of protecting our community.
I think so too. If you've ever seen Medea's family reunion, at the very end of that movie, they had the family reunion gathering, and then there was like a whole bunch of young people. Just bear with me. I have a point. So there's a bunch of young people at the family reunion, and then there were the elders. And when the elders wanted everyone to gather at that time, the few that were there, the young people weren't interested in listening until they were forced to listen,
Mm,
until they were forced to gather and listen to the amazing women that lived a life that these younger kids could learn from and could benefit from. So that scene to me kind of came to mind when you were talking about the fact that they were there and that they're still here and they're willing to teach, but there are not so many who are willing to learn. That's exactly what happened in that moment. They
right.
were there. They were willing to teach about their own family history, but the whole family, all the younger generations that were there, they weren't willing to listen,
Right.
because they were more interested in fighting each other, more interested in texting and being in their phones and dancing erotically and carrying on like some young people do,
Mhm.
and instead of hearing and benefiting from wisdom, true wisdom. If I had that, I would hold on to it forever,
Mhm.
and I would learn from it, and I would use it for the betterment of myself and for the betterment of my community. I
Absolutely.
believe in community. I believe in people staying together, banding together, and that's the reason why I refuse to give up on the world. I refuse to believe that there's no good left in the world. I will always know and believe that there is good left in this world and that it can be secured if we decide to band together as people.
Mhm. So, where do you look for wisdom today? Where do you find wisdom these days? You
I
specifically.
find wisdom within my own business. The business venture that I decided to journey on, it's been a life changing time in my life, because even within my family alone, I didn't really have that person that I could say, all right, I'm going to go talk to this person, and then they'll provide some advice to me that could, change things for me and push me towards changing the generational curses or breaking the generational curses that have impacted my family. So I look for that from my mentors now.
Got it.
That, yes.
Where? How many of your family members came here to America with you from Jamaica?
At the same time, it was just my uncle and his two daughters that came with us. But I have a large family here that all migrated, starting from my grandparents, who's migrated first, and then they brought all of their kids, and then those kids brought their children. So I have a pretty expansive family here in America. In America, however, we're not close.
Okay. Now we're going to talk about a little bit of that, but I also want to know your perspective on life. Did you develop a lot of this before you left Jamaica? Did you see a lot of these different areas of society that needed to be worked on before you came to America, or did you develop a lot of your philosophy on life after you got here?
I would say a little bit of both.
Okay.
When I was in Jamaica, a lot of people, the people who knew me in Jamaica would always say I was so much more mature than my age. I have a different view on life, and a lot of people used to tell me I don't belong where I used to live because of my mindset. I've always thought that there could be so much better out there in the world for us, for me. Growing up in America, I always thought that there was so much better out there for myself. And so I've always tried to act accordingly, bring myself or show myself in a certain light because that's the way I want to be seen. Now,
Right.
was I being authentic at the time? No, because I was trying to paint myself as someone outside of my circumstances
When was this? When was this?
when I was living in Jamaica.
Okay.
So,
You know,
um,
but one thing that I think was very profound that you just said was that you always believed that there was something better out there in the world. And once you say that, I begin to see you as somebody who is gifted because just like we were talking about past generations, some of those people in past generations, they didn't think, oh, there must be something out there better in the world. Let me go and find it. A lot of people, they stay where they grew up. They don't never go out there and learn something different so that they can do something different so that they can get a new outcome. So when you're one of the people who says, no, I'm not going to stay where I am. I'm going to go to a new place. I'm going to to do a new thing because I know that there's something better out there. That tells me that there's a calling on your life. Would you agree to that?
I 100% agree with you. People like my mother-in-law said a lot that I do have a calling on my life, and I believe that also. I believe in searching for what that is, so that I can let that shine. I can let that pour out of me and pour into the world because I do want to make sure that the world is safe as I can make it for my son. I
Absolutely.
have a child and I have nieces and nephews that I want them to enjoy living.
Yep.
I want them to be out in the world and be educated and be smart and street smart, everything. I want them to be the whole package.
A whole
Okay.
package.
I want the world to allow that. I want the world to allow that. And if I can impact or create some kind of shift in the world so that that can happen, I would know that I did something right and that
Yep.
I'm leaving behind a world that's fit for my children and their
Absolutely.
children.
Absolutely.
So I do.
Felicia, I'm real happy to have you here today. You're bringing a fresh perspective, an authentic perspective. You've grown, and we're getting an elevated, higher form of yourself. You're not the same young lady that you were before you came to America, and you're making a difference right now as we speak. Ladies and gentlemen, Felicia Hamilton has more to share with us, and we're going to get to it right after this brief message. America's Next Motivator. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern. America's Next Motivator, hosted by me, Cedric Riley, and sponsored by the Pride Empowerment Network. And we're back. Ladies and gentlemen, you may have seen our advertisement for the Pride Empowerment Network. I want to remind you that I'm up to some things outside this TV show. One of them is a nonprofit called the Pride Empowerment Network. The destiny of that organization is to provide a resource and a resource center for youth and families clear across America. I'm on a mission to motivate all 440,000 youth in foster care and a foster care system today, and you can help out to that. But first, let's get back to Felicia Hamilton. Felicia, you talked about building a legacy for your children and for your family. I want to commend you for taking on that mentality. And let's give praise to all the women out there who are pushing the possibility of their families. A lot of the time, it is the woman that supports the man. It's the woman who gives birth to the man, and it's the woman who holds up the family. Every single person I talk to, they mention a mother, a grandmother, a great-grandmother, a sister or aunt who played a crucial role in the person that they became. So I think that you are a voice of our ancestors. You are a voice of the ruling class of our society. And I want to hear more from you today. Now, what do you think it's going to take for us to build a legacy for our families and our communities?
Personally, I really think it only takes one person to have a vision in your family, in the world, in your neighborhood, and that one person to bring other people into that vision, to see the vision and understand it, to provide and bring some impact in your neighborhood, your families, and so on. So I think, like, for instance, with me, knowing that I do have a vision for my life, me using that and being the example for my family will create naturally that kind of spiraling effect within the others within my family. So it just takes one person to see something in themselves and in other people to impact change.
Do you think that there is a way for us to develop a vision in our life so that it is just not one person? Is there a way to inspire other people to develop visions for their lives?
People have to want to change. People have to want better for themselves. And if they want better for themselves, I say just do it. Just do it. Just get up and decide to make a difference and decide that you're going to bring several people on the journey with you to making that difference, and watch it unfold, watch it happen. It will happen. You just have to decide to do it. And once you do so, other people will naturally come with you. Naturally. I think it's just it's a natural response in the brain for us for people to see one person getting up and deciding that I'm no longer going to stay here. I'm no longer going to let this be the best time in my life. And I'm going to change for myself for the better of the people around me, and just watch it impact those around you naturally. You don't even have to say anything.
Mhm.
And that's the reason why I do say that it just takes that one person to see something for a lot of other people to then come and realize the same thing.
Right. Absolutely. You know, some people say that when you do something, you subconsciously give other people permission to do that which you've done. I agree with you 1000%. Now, there is a young man and a young woman who recently migrated to America. They might have come from Jamaica or another country, and they're trying to figure out how they're going to adapt and succeed. And then at the same time, we got youth in foster care who just got taken out of their home. They got moved to a new place. And so you've got all these people who just freshly got into a new reality. Can you provide some motivation to them today about how they can adapt to a new place?
It's not easy adapting to any new surroundings. Um, Try your best to stay focused on the reason why you came here. You decided to come to America for a reason. I'm not sure what the reason is. Maybe you weren't able to get um, what you wanted where where you lived previously. But if the reason why you came to America is to succeed, focus on your goal, that mission that you have, and do whatever it is that you need to do within your power to see that through. It's going to cause you to struggle a little bit, but that's okay because sacrifices are worth it. So sacrifice as much as you have to, dedicate your time to your craft, whatever your craft is. Practice makes perfect always. So do not give up on yourself. Do not give up on your dreams. Do not let anyone come in the way of your dreams,
Wow.
and
Wow.
watch you unfold. You will be amazing. You will get to where you need to be simply because you decided to be dedicated, steadfast. Never forget to pray. That is so important. Never forget who you worship, because he's going to bring you through anything and everything.
Excellent. Now I want to ask you, when you got here to America, what was the first thing that you did in order to get your life on the right track?
When I got to America, I was slacking off a little when I came to America. Because mind you, coming from Jamaica, where everything, I was so disciplined, and in school, I was very disciplined. I was on track. My mother's never seen anything less than an A from me on my report. So when I came to America, I'm like in this other, it's like an alternate universe
Right.
based on, from where I'm coming from. And I'm like, oh my gosh, let me have some fun. you know, let me just relax a little bit. I'm 15 years old and I need to just, live a little. So I did slack off a little bit for the first, I would say, year. It was a tough year. Adjusting to a new environment. I did have a hard time adjusting, especially when it came to school, being around new people, not being around my friends that I'm used to being around anymore. It was tough. And so after that first year, I kind of had to kick myself, just give myself that little kick that I needed, like wake up, like get up, like there was a purpose for why you're here. There's a purpose for why you left your sister in Jamaica and came to America. And so you need to fight for that purpose. You need to fight for that vision that you once had. You need to keep that going. And I kind of just had to like nudge myself in the right direction to get myself refocus my mind and my energy into that place where I needed to be focused. And so once I got that focus back, I was able to climb mountains that I never thought I would be able to.
Wow. Wow. And what was it like? What was it like for you just observing people who had grown up here in America their entire lives? What was that observation like for you?
I would say that I judged a lot. I judged people a lot because I wasn't used to seeing children curse at their parents or I wasn't used to people just where I grew up. Waking up in the morning and I walk down the street, you say good morning to your elders. You call them, you never call them out of their names, and so that was really something I needed to adapt to. I'm not saying that people don't do it here, but do you find it as much as I did in Jamaica? No, because I noticed that being in a completely different environment meant that I needed to adapt to the fact that I can't feel hurt just because I say good morning to somebody and they didn't say good morning back. um, or just being on a bus and knowing that I would get up anytime a pregnant person or an elderly person comes in front of me, knowing that I would get up, but then seeing other people around me not do the same. It was a huge adjustment for me, in terms of, the kind of discipline that's been instilled on my life, and adjusting and making sure that I stayed disciplined. And because there are a lot of temptations, a lot more distractions here than I had at home back in Jamaica. So my I needed to just stay focused and remember everything that I learned growing up from my mom, from school, from other people in my environment. Discipline is key. It definitely is. Like, if you just dedicated yourself to 30 days of doing one thing, that alone will change so much in your life. Like, discipline is key. And so I had to keep that discipline going.
Sure. So, what was it like for you finishing high school here in America? Walk us through a day in high school for you.
I loved high school. Sometimes I wish I could go back.
Uh,
High school was an amazing journey for me. I am grateful and I am blessed to have known the teachers that I had that impacted my life so greatly. They saw something in me that I never thought that anyone else would see in me. They're the reason, they saw the leader in me that I never saw. I didn't really see it at the time in myself. And so they poured into me, invested time and energy and money into me as a leader, developing me as a leader. And so in high school, I was a cheerleader. I was in basically every club, just pretty much any or every club that was out there, I was in it. Um, I was on the honor roll. I was on the principals list. I was on all the lists that you could think of in high school. I was very involved in everything. And you can say I was a little bit on the more popular side of things in high school, but it was more so because, I wanted to make myself seen in high school in a positive way, so that I could impact my peers as well in high school. So day to day, I was probably tutoring somebody. I did tutoring in high school too. um or I was helping somebody do homework, or I was helping, new children's get acclimated to their classrooms. And I was also even a peer monitor. Is that the word I'm looking at for? Mentor. I was a peer mentor in school too. So I spent a lot of my time just talking to other kids. I was a mediator. That's the word I'm looking for.
Peer media.
Yes. So, I spent some time also doing mediation, making sure that children, before they get sent to the principal's office, they get sent to me to resolve their issues, and before they to prevent them from going to the principal's office. So that's a lot of, and then I was a cheerleader, so I was always out at basketball games. cheering the boys on the team. We did a lot of fundraisers in school, especially me being a peer leader at the time, because I was what they called a peer leader through College Summit. So I was doing a lot of leadership training. I was doing a lot of I was playing a big leadership role in my school with the other.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. So I see you kind of transforming into that legacy builder that you were talking about earlier. I mean, now you're literally transforming into that, and that's what I want our people to see is that you went from a transformation and you came from miles and miles and miles away. You've come a long way in your life. You've come a really long way in your life, and your work is not finished yet. But you went to college as well. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. I
Okay.
have my bachelor's degree.
Okay. And what did you decide to do with your life after you got out of college?
I was lost when I got out of college, as I can imagine a lot of other new graduates from college were.
Yep.
I graduated. What do I do now? Apply for jobs? What do I do with my life? I
Yep.
spent 4 years of my life dormed on campus. So, I was thrusted out of that environment and into the world at large. Now I have to pay bills.
Right.
Oh my God. Now I have to have responsibilities, be responsible for my time, for the people, making sure that I find the right career, the right field to get into, because I graduated with my degree in social work. So I had to make sure that I find something that matched the calling that I knew I had on my life in terms of being a social worker. And so I just decided to leave, I would say, and just start applying to all the big jobs. Like I'm talking about the federal jobs and um, maybe the jobs that at the time I didn't have the experience for, but I still went ahead and did it anyways because I knew I believed something in myself.
Okay.
I believed something in myself, and so I just took that leap outside of college, and then I just started. I started looking. I started looking for where I belonged, where I was supposed to fit in after being in college and fitting in there, and being around the friends that I had for years
Right.
and trying to find that place where I fit in outside of that environment. It was tough. It wasn't easy.
When we were in production, you talked about your desire for people to become financially fit.
Yes.
And it also sounds like you believe that, we should be building up our communities economically and that we should be finding ways to become victorious financially and economically. Can you talk about that agenda, please?
So and this is more recent for me because I come from a background where financial fitness wasn't even talked about. People were so afraid of talking about their finances and how if just talking about the fact that they're poor. It's okay that you're poor. It's okay that you don't have money. But what isn't okay is that you think that that's the last of your life. That like that's it for you. There's no up to go from there. That's where it's not okay. And so I recently opened up myself to an opportunity that changed my mindset in that aspect for the rest of my life. There's no me going back to the mindset of me being poor, or the mindset where I'm just going to settle for not being financially free or not being financially educated.
Okay.
I believe that, even though we weren't given the opportunity to gain the financial education that we deserved in schools, now as adults we have the opportunity to no longer be victims. We cannot sit here and feel sorry for ourselves and be like, oh, I don't have money. You know why? Because you need to educate yourself on money in order to know that when you get money you can keep it,
So,
right?
what are some things? What are the top three things that we should be learning about finance right now that we can go out there and start learning today?
I would say it's all about the power of credit. I can't stress it enough The power of credit will change your entire life. Go ahead and learn about what a 30% utilization score will do for your credit. Go ahead and learn about the different lines of credit, the trade lines that you can have access to just by simply making sure that you pay your bills on time, making sure that you know you pay before a statement date as opposed to a due date. There's so much education to be learned about the Fair Credit Reporting Act that so many people do not understand.
So let's, because this is a really, really, really important part of this interview. Now, I think that a lot of communities out there can benefit from more understanding about credit.
Yes.
When some people think about credit, they might think of the commercials where somebody is cutting all their credit cards in half because everything has went terribly wrong. But what you're telling me is that credit can be something that you can leverage to really elevate your life.
Absolutely, 100%. All
Okay,
you have to
I want you to take the next 2 or 3 minutes and educate me about credit. Now, you mentioned something about 30%. What was that about?
Okay, so really though, even though they say you should stay within a 30% utilization rate when it comes to credit, that is very important because a lot of people, let's say for instance, you have $1,000 limit on your card.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't be willing or be okay with even going over 300 of that limit on your card. Reason why: it will impact your score more negatively than it would positively. If you stay within a utilization rate of 30%, guarantee you're going to see your score rise instead of fall. So never, but a lot of people really try to stay within 10% of their credit limits, as opposed to staying within 30%. But if you can't stay within 10%, like say you really need to pay a bill and you do go over your 30%, utilization, just make sure that you pay that off. Never pay the entire balance on a credit card because it also affects you more negatively. Even if you're leaving $1 on your credit card, that will increase your credit limit tenfold.
Can you advise anybody whose credit score might be low right now as to how they can get a higher score?
I want to first, before even giving advice, tell people to keep an open mind, because when it comes to changing your credit limit and changing your credit life, because credit is life. Credit can be the difference between you, 1 point alone can be the difference between you buying a house and being denied for that house. Just 1 point. So if you take the opportunity to be open minded and learn about your finances, learn how to dictate your own finances, you will be astronomically, so you will succeed. You will succeed in terms of your economics. You will succeed mentally, because let's be honest, money is one of the biggest reasons why there's a lot of issues going on in this world. And if you take the time and be open to learning more, or letting someone lead you in the right direction when it comes to managing your finances and leveraging the laws to making sure that you are financially set, if you can open your mind to that, guarantee your life will change. And you will.
So let me get this right. You help people with their credit?
I do not tell people their credit. However, my agency, my organization, we have attorneys, credit attorneys, professionals who do the working with the credit. I personally just educate others on the matters of credit and the matters of finances, in order to allow people to grow and to better themselves and to achieve their goals.
How can somebody contact you if they want more information about credit and they want more education about financial literacy?
Well, you can go directly to my Facebook page. My name is Felicia Hamilton on my Facebook page. My business page's name is also Felicia Hamilton as well. My cell number, you can always text me from my work cell. You can messenger me. You can find me on Instagram at Felicia adds value underscore. There are so many different platforms that I am accessible to you from, and
Okay.
I will never turn you away. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, Felicia, I've had a great time with you today, and time flies when you're having fun. But I need
Absolutely.
you to answer 3 questions for me. Now you're on the hot seat. I need you to answer 3 questions for me in 1 minute. All right. The
Mhm.
first question is, what is survival to you?
Survival is never giving up. No matter what is happening in my life, I will never give up. And no one, I'm telling you right now, if you want to survive, if you want to beat your circumstances, never give up on yourself. You are the key to your success.
What is success to you?
Success is in the mind. Anything that you deem to be success to you is what is success.
Right. What is greatness to you?
Greatness is putting yourself aside and pouring into other people. Greatness is never looking back at a bad circumstance and not learning from it. Greatness is elevating yourself to better for you and for your family. Greatness is what you make it to be.
Absolutely. Felicia, I want to let you know that I admire your journey.
Thank
I
you, Seth.
respect it. I see the hard work that you're putting in to your life to benefit your children's life. I see you continuing to push forward no matter what, and I commend that. I want to let you know that I give you a crown today while you're still living, and that you, Felicia Hamilton, is one of America's next motivators.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time today, and
Thank
for
you
all our
for
viewers.
having me.
For sure. Feel free to reach out to Felicia Hamilton, and I'll talk to you soon. All right.
All right. Bye bye, Cedric.
Bye bye. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, you heard what she said. We've got to get our credit together. We've got to gain a sense of financial literacy as a means of obtaining greatness. Every single time you hear about an episode of America's Next Motivator, there's going to be something here for you. All you need to do is stop by and pick it up.